Mr. Sentelle. Let's give David a hand. He's represented our class very good over the years.
And perhaps going to be a little more reserved or a little more serious than I may have been when I spoke at the pep rallies, but I'll nonetheless start with rejoice, dear heart. And I am rejoicing, but it is a serious time as well. I'm reminded tonight of something that happened. You know, a funny thing happened to me on the way to being a country lawyer in western North Carolina. Came back here twice to try to spend the rest of my life in Asheville, and the first time I got job offers in Charlotte till I couldn't turn them down, and then when I came back as a district judge, I was asked to go to Washington to take the Court of Appeals position when Justice Scalia went on the Supreme Court. About a year after I'd gone up there for the Court of Appeals, I came back to Asheville for a conference. It was held at the Grove Park Inn, and as it happened, I was the first person to get to the cocktail party. I don't know what that says exactly. Justice Rehnquist, Chief Justice Rehnquist, was the second person to get to the cocktail party. He looked out across the Blue Ridge Mountains. We're on that back deck at the Grove where you can see such a beautiful view. The sun is just turning everything golden. It's just about to go down. Chief said, "David?" I said, "Yes, Chief Justice." He said, "How could you leave this and come to Washington?" And I said, "Chief Justice, just before you asked me, I was trying to remember." When I come to this group and look over the group that I know here and the friends that I have here, I have something of the same feeling. Is how could I leave this and go to Washington? Because, you know, it's not just that this is a beautiful place here, and it is beautiful. Western North Carolina is one of the really garden spots of the United States. I haven't been around the world a great deal, but in the United States, it's one of the most beautiful places to be. But the people that make up this place, as you've heard reference time and again tonight, are a very special group of people. And as Frosty alluded to, that's not true of all the classes. We are not just boasting. Any class can have its reunion and say we were a really good class. But in our case, we know what we're talking about. Because all these years later, we have Patsy sending out the newsletter, and we couldn't stay as well connected without her, without the Tatler. But if this weren't a very special class, she wouldn't find that everybody wants it. I mean, it only exists. She can only make a go of it because we want her to. It's because this is a class that still cares about the information that she provides. She performs a wonderful service in providing it, but the service would be worthless and nobody would buy it if we didn't still care. If you remember Roger Lent's final days and how, led by Pat, the class closed around Roger and helped him fill out his bucket list every way anybody could. And people called him and went to see him in the end and see that his last wishes were met. I don't think there are many classes that do that kind of thing. And forgive me, when Linda Dockery died, I think I felt, even just through the communication of the emails, a commonality of grief that we had lost somebody that we all still really love. I'm not saying that there weren't good people in other classes, but there were an especially fine collection of people in the class of 61. Being in the analytical profession that I'm in, I have had to think at times about why that is. One reason, I think, was alluded to tonight, that we were still a little smaller class than the ones that came after us. We were not yet baby boomers. The boom was just beginning and just really got into full swing 3 years after we came through. That helped that there weren't as many, but that's not enough. There were classes before us that were smaller than ours. That's a start, but it's not enough. Have heard people in other classes expressly say, well, I like your class better than mine because my class had some cliques, it had snobbery, it had jealousy. You know, we just didn't have those things. We had a bunch of people who were homogenous, and I think to have that, you had to have some special leaders, the athletes, the student body leaders, were just not people who aggrandized themselves. They were people who maintained a sameness and egalitarianness an evenness toward all. I don't think that we could exist without the leadership of the character of Tommy Fernandez, Tommy Orr, late Steve Foster, Frosty Tao, Dale Gallion. It was people who cared about all their classmates, who made all their classmates care about each other. And if I haven't gotten too serious already, the Reverend Willie the Stick, Bill Harkins referred a while ago to the time of year that this is, to what happened 10 years ago tomorrow. And when I think back first to the loss of a very dear friend when her plane collided at the Pentagon that day, but I think back to how America remembered who it was after that series of attacks. And what made America great is a little microcosm we have here. The greatness of the great nation depended upon a society in which everybody counted. Everybody was special. People cared about each other. There was a sense of community. There was a homogeneity of morals and ethics and religious beliefs that existed still in full force for us, and it dwindled as the baby boom came along. So we are blessed to have come together. We're blessed to have come along when we did. There was a line I used to use that I used to borrow from Brother Dave Gardner that some of you might remember. I used to say, "Rejoice, dear hearts, Brother Dave is amongst you." Tonight I want to say I'm rejoicing, dear hearts, because I am amongst you. And I want to ask you to do one more thing with another line that Brother Dave had. He used to say, "Everybody here that loves the South, shout glory." I want to say, everybody here that loves the class of 61, shout glory.
Glory!
Glory.
Oh, that's beautiful.